She sat crying beside a broken wagon until a cowboy offered his saddle and his hand. That was how it all began, on a lonely dirt road stretching across the wide frontier plains, where dust rose high and the sun beat mercilessly on weary travelers. Her name was Mary, a young woman with golden hair tangled in the wind, her dress dirtied and torn from the journey. She had set out with dreams of reaching a small town to find work as a seamstress, but her wagon, pulled by a single old horse, had given way on the rough trail. The wheel cracked, splintered, and the animal collapsed in exhaustion. Alone, stranded, with no family nearby, Mary crumpled beside the broken wheel and wept. Every tear carried the weight of fear. How would she survive the night with wolves in the distance and the prairie cold creeping in? But fate has a way of sending help when hope is thinnest. From the horizon came the steady rhythm of hooves. A lone rider appeared, tall in the saddle, his hat shadowing a face weathered by sun and wind. He slowed as he saw her, reined in his horse, and swung down in one fluid motion. His name was Luke, a cowboy known by many as a drifter, but with a heart that never turned from those in need. Kneeling beside her, he tipped his hat. "Looks like trouble found you, ma'am," he said gently. Mary looked up, startled, eyes red from crying, expecting mockery or demands. Instead, she saw something rare: kindness. Luke examined the wagon, shook his head, then unstrapped his saddle and held out his hand. "This wagon won't take you anywhere, but my horse will. Let me take you to safety." She hesitated, torn between fear of strangers and the aching loneliness of her plight. But there was something steady in his eyes, something that told her she could trust him. Slowly, she placed her trembling hand in his calloused palm, and in that touch a spark of hope flickered to life. The trail was long, but the saddle was steady, and Luke guided the horse with care as Mary clung to him, her cheek brushing against the worn leather of his coat. The prairie stretched endlessly around them, fields of tall grass swaying in the evening wind. At first, neither spoke, the silence filled only with hoofbeats and the faint cry of hawks overhead. But as the hours passed, Luke began asking simple questions, his voice warm and patient. "Where were you headed? Who's waiting for you?" Mary's answers were quiet, heavy with sorrow. She explained how her parents had died of fever back east, how she had no siblings, no one left to turn to. Her plan had been to reach the town and stitch dresses for women of the settlement, scraping together enough to survive. "But now," she whispered, "I don't know what I'll do." Luke listened without judgment, nodding as though he understood every unspoken fear. He told her of his own life, a man who had once worked cattle herds, lost his small ranch to fire, and now wandered between towns, taking work where he could. "A saddle's a lonely home," he admitted, "but sometimes it's better than sitting still." By the time they reached his small camp near a river bend, the stars had filled the sky, 1,000 diamonds scattered on velvet black. Luke helped her down, offered her food, and stoked the fire higher to chase away the night's chill. Mary watched him, her heart torn between gratitude and disbelief. In her world, men had often been harsh, cruel, demanding. But here was one who gave without asking, who shared his bread, his fire, and his silence as if they were treasures. That night, wrapped in his spare blanket, Mary listened to the river's lullaby and realized she was no longer alone. For the first time in many years, she dared to believe she might have a future worth hoping for. Dawn broke with golden light spilling across the horizon, painting the prairie in hues of rose and amber. Mary woke to the scent of coffee and the sight of Luke crouched by the fire, his hat tilted low, the steam curling around him like smoke from a dream. He greeted her with a quiet nod, handed her a tin cup, and asked if she was ready to ride into town. But as the morning stretched on, Mary's thoughts grew restless. What would happen when she reached that settlement? Would she be left to fend for herself once more, sewing dresses for pennies, facing whispers of being a woman without family? She glanced at Luke, wondering why her heart ached at the thought of parting from him so soon. The ride into town was shorter than expected, and when they arrived, people stopped to stare. A cowboy and a young woman riding double was enough to spark gossip, but Luke ignored the murmurs, leading her straight to the boarding house. There, he paid for her lodging with coins he could scarce afford, insisting she rest and find her footing. Mary's eyes filled with tears as she realized the truth. He was ready to walk away, to leave her safe but alone once again. Summoning her courage, she stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. "Luke, Why do you care so much for me? You don't even know me. He paused, turned slowly, and met her gaze. Because I know what it is to lose everything and feel like you've got no one. No one deserves to face that kind of emptiness, not while I'm around. His words struck deep into her soul. In that moment, Mary understood. It wasn't pity he offered, but a hand toward something greater. She reached out, touched his arm, and whispered, "Then don't leave. Please, stay, or let me ride with you." For the first time in years, Luke's stern features softened into a smile. The cowboy who lived for the road had found a reason to pause, and the girl who thought she was lost had found a hand strong enough to guide her. Together they stepped into a future neither had planned, but both desperately needed. And dear friends, if Mary and Luke's story of hope, kindness, and second chances touched your heart, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. More powerful tales of love, courage, and destiny are waiting just for you.